Excellent. There we go. So, how do you know as a business owner where you need digital transformation? How do you identify it? If you've got a problem, how do you use digital to solve it? So you've got operational issues, you've got legacy issues, you've got finance challenges, client acquisition, the whole meaty subject of change management, and the many, many pieces to the transformational jigsaw. And when put together correctly, they'll deliver the real gains that you need and give you the focus that's required. Now, my next guest is the most incredible Nathan Lomax from Quickfire Digital. Are you there, Nathan?
I am. How are you, Chris?
Oh, amazing. Have you clocked the weather?
Yes. Typically, the weather this morning is beautiful.
It is beautiful.
It's miserable.
Nathan and I were meant to go for a sort of, I was going to say romantic. That's not romantic, is it?
It would have been romantic. Yeah.
A socially distanced dog walk yesterday morning to talk about all things to put the world to right, but sadly we got rained off. Anyway, so over to you, Nathan. Talk us through your issues around, challenges around how you deal with the legacies, issues of digital transformation.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. I'm just get the presentation up and then we can go. Right, so essentially, just a very quick introduction. Nathan Lomax from Quickfire Digital. We're a digital transformation agency focused on e-commerce, but actually digital transformation is relevant within any business of any size. And so this morning, I really want to talk about how for you listening, if you really want to be in the top 1%, you have to do what the other 99% of people are not prepared to do. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of hustle porn side of things where you have to work 24 hours a day. That's not what I'm talking about. But at the same time, you have to be prepared to embrace change. So the guys that spoke before me did a brilliant job in talking about digital transformation. And I'm going to take it right back to its roots in terms of at the very heart of digital transformation, it's about embracing change and about embracing new technology. So let's think about this in a very simple sense. If you are doing something and you've done something for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, it might be time to revisit that process. So there's so many moving parts when you're looking at digital transformation. It might be internally in terms of systems and process. It might be in terms of sales and output. It might be in terms of your people. And hopefully today we'll uncover some of that. But my question for you to start is, are you prepared to be that salmon and swim upstream as opposed to all the other fish swimming downstream? Are you prepared to put your neck on the line and do something different? So first things first, and people always jump at this, I'm going to call you out. I don't believe enough people are prepared to make difficult decisions and to embrace change. There's a lot of good talk at the moment and a lot of businesses saying, oh yeah, we're ready, we're prepared to change. COVID has accelerated most people's digital transformation programs by 12 to 24 months. So no longer can we sit here and talk a good game. It's time to now start walking the walk. So we need to think about from top to bottom in the business, how can we make incremental changes to try and evolve our business and to come out of COVID stronger the other side. Before that, however, again, I'm going to talk about controlling the controllables. Too many business owners that I speak to right now are looking for excuses. Oh, it's my other director's fault. Oh, it's the team's fault. Oh, it's COVID's problem. Oh, it's because there's a recession coming. Oh, it's because of Brexit. Oh, it's because of the government. There's so many different moving parts in the world right now. We need to take stock and start controlling the things that we can control. What can we control? Our own mindset and our own input. So start thinking carefully about how you personally, not someone else in the business, not your boss or not your junior or anything like that, how can you personally start to make a difference? Because change starts with you. COVID has provided many challenges to many people. Many have lost loved ones. It's been a difficult time for many. However, the game has changed and the opportunity that comes off the back of this has never been greater if you're prepared to adapt and change. And that's the big thing, if you're prepared to adapt and change. So let's get started. What I want to know is how well do you know your business and just how vulnerable is your business? So the first thing I always talk to people when we go into a digital transformation exercise is how well do you actually know your ideal customer profile? So at the end of the day, you might be doing some digital transformation to improve processes internally, but 9 times out of 10, you're doing something within digital transformation to improve the experience of the end user. So what I want to know is, how do you know your ideal profile? Let's take Uber as an example. They disrupted the taxi industry significantly. How did they do this? They disrupted price and they disrupted convenience. So very quickly, you can go on your phone, you can book a cab, and you can pay a fraction of the cost it would be for a black cab. Think of other industries that have done similar. What I want you to tell me after this is, how well do you know your ideal customer profile? And I'm talking demographics, I'm talking where they live, what are their purchasing habits, how do they behave online, what are the things they do, what are their habits offline, where do they spend their time, what age are these people, kind of their experience, etc., etc. If we can build up a bit of a kind of framework around how these people behave and what they do, then we can make sure that the process we're delivering is right for them. And I'll come on to a bit of personalization shortly. Too many businesses go on this digital transformation journey with just themselves in mind. So, this is going to improve our business, is going to make my life easier. The digital transformation isn't just about me. It's about my customers and how I can make their experience better. So just for a moment, put the ego to one side and start to think, how can you help and improve your customer and 10x your customer experience? If you can do that, digital transformation should be straightforward. If you don't, and you lose sight of that, and you just purely look internally, then you may struggle. So after I've looked at the ideal customer profile, we then start talking about access to the right data. And we'll talk a bit more about this shortly, but do we have access to all the right data points to make sure that the decisions we're making are, and not just based on hunches? Too many times we go into businesses and they're doing things based off gut feeling or on hunches. I think this, I think this. There's no excuse for that anymore. We've got all the data at our fingertips. What we can do now is look into those data pools and say, I know this, and I know this, and I can back it up by this data. The next is around communication, and not just on frequency, but also on platform. So, okay, how frequently are we talking to people? So many people when COVID started, and so many business owners buried their head in the sand. And look, as a business owner myself, I can totally understand that. It's a worrying time. You don't know what's going to happen. However, now we need to pick it up, again, control the controllables, and start communicating with our clients again. Let's communicate frequently. Let's make sure our content is relevant and educational, and we're helping, we're serving rather than selling. If we go into a second lockdown, that's going to be more important than ever. How can we try and serve rather than sell? Pay it forwards and help the audience. Most importantly, think of the channel that you're communicating on. Okay, when you're going through digital transformation, it might be that for years you've relied on pen and paper, sending letters to the office. Well, actually, many people are working from home. So actually, you might need to embrace digital and start looking at other channels. On the flip side, every man and his dog is sending emails at the moment. So what else can we do to try and get in front of our audience? Is it possibly through in-app notifications? Is it possibly through social? Is it possibly through marketing? There's so many options, but we just have to make sure that we're finding the right audience for our user rather than the right audience for us as owners. The next thing is around the proposition. Again, so many people at the start of this just carried on as if nothing had happened. We need to make sure that our proposition is still relevant. When you're going through the process of digital transformation, are you still solving someone's problem? Are you still fixing, I call it the 10 a.m. or the 3 a.m. problem, when people wake up in cold sweats, and I'm sure you've all been there, as have I. You wake up and you think, oh crumbs, what am I going to do about this? Are you still solving that problem? If you're not, are you still relevant? And if you're not, why not? And how can you change it? So it might be that COVID has caused your proposition to change. It might be that actually new entrants have come to the market and you've got to adapt. Or possibly due to financial impact, some competition has left the market and actually you've got a bigger opportunity. But now is the most important time to act. There's no good saying, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, oh, we're going to do this. We've got these great plans. Now is the time to start making it happen. After this, we start to look at people. So we've looked at our audience, but actually people inside the business. Have you got the right people in the right seats? Now times are changing. Now technology needs to embrace. How familiar are the team with the technologies you want to use? Is it actually that their skill set isn't at the right level, or actually are they overqualified and you can make real use of their skills? Really important to audit and analyze all of your team. The final thing, and arguably one of the most important things, is have a roadmap in place. I heard the guys talking about a digital roadmap before this. Make sure you've got a concrete plan in place that you can revert back to. So, okay, does the plan have actionable KPIs in terms of we're going to achieve this by this time? Does it also have a plan for the next 6, 12, 18, 24 months? We need short-term objectives, we need long-term objectives. So just think about creating a bit of a roadmap or a bit of a plan so that all stakeholders involved in the business are fully aware and bought into the journey. If you embrace digital transformation, let's face facts, nobody likes change. Okay, very few people have I ever met that really love and embrace change, but as business owners and founders, we have to embrace change. We really have to make a difference. So for me, the question is, how can you get all the people in the business to buy into it? And you do that by sharing the plan. Maybe even give people a chance to contribute. So let's analyze the business, let's conduct an audit. Okay, going through the business right now, where are their bottlenecks or where are their teething problems? Great, there's a problem here in the onboarding process. Let's ask the onboarding team, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? How can it improve? Get people involved and get them to buy into the journey. That will make the digital transformation process so much easier. A lot of digital transformation is around asking questions. So someone like myself or the guys before will come into your business and ask you a series of questions. And some of those questions might be uncomfortable, right? And some of those times you might be called out. So don't think it's going to be an easy ride. But I can promise you, make change and you stay ahead of the crowd, then you'll be fine coming out of COVID. So question, are you and your business really prepared to embrace digital transformation? And I ask this because actually so many people talk a good game, but I'm not sure you are. And so hopefully from today's presentation and the presentations before and after me, you'll start to understand the importance of digital transformation and why now is the time to act. So let's start with mobile first experiences. So many people say to me, Nathan, this is great, I understand it, but at the same time, where do I start? So the first thing for me is always looking at a mobile first experience. Over the last few years, we've seen that website visits, of course, have gone more and more mobile. And I'm sure you listening to this can relate to that. You'll be watching something on telly, you'll be using your mobile phone. A lot of the times, the first interaction with your brand online will be through a mobile. Yet still so many businesses go with desktop first and don't consider the mobile first experience. So this doesn't just relate to websites, but everything within the business, right? So actually it's not just about how am I interacting with a website, but sometimes you go to a park or let's take the attraction space. I was dealing with one yesterday. You go to their park, everything's still offline. There's no opportunity to engage with mobile. So let's start to think as more and more people are kind of glued to their mobile, right? There's a brilliant documentary on Netflix at the moment around social media and around technology. I really recommend you checking that out. But actually for now, how can we make sure that mobile is at the very forefront of our strategy? Because I'm afraid, folks, it's not going anywhere. Okay, mobile will only get stronger and more people will embrace technology. And we need to make sure that when people are interacting with our business, it's absolutely seamless. So, okay, aside from mobile, data is everything. Okay, and I touched upon this a little bit before. So important that we understand data inside out. And there's no excuses anymore. It's not good enough to say, okay, I think that people do this, or based on what I've been told they do this. No, we've got all the data at our fingertips. If you don't have Google Analytics, that's the first place to start. Really basic, simple, it's free. There's so much data in there, arguably too much data, but start yourself with an analytics account. When you've done that, you can start to look at other tools, particularly when you're looking at websites with Hotjar and Mouseflow and looking at that kind of thing to measure movements of mouses and browsing kind of behaviors, but then take it outside of the website and start to think, how else can you collect data? So can you do a survey of people coming into your shop or into your attraction? Can you possibly look at other forms of data? Can you measure footfall? Can you measure traffic? All those things. There's so many data points that we can collect to make sure that the decisions we do make, and more importantly, the priorities we set, are timely and are the right ones. So the reason I always encourage data is used is that when we build that roadmap, we know actually, you know what, I did think we were going to do this in the first 6 months, but based on the data, this is what the audience really wants. This is what our users are crying out for, and this is what we'll deliver. Again, our job as business owners is to solve people's problems. If we can do that, we'll encourage more footfall. Aside from data, it's around personalizing the experience. Okay, everyone wants to feel unique and individual. I want to feel like in a mass mail that someone is talking to me personally. So I want you to know what I'm like. I want you to know my behaviors. I want to know if I like short form content, long form content. Everything should be about me if you're trying to talk to me. And therefore we look at it as a great tool to have a look at called Crystal Knows. And there's a few other tools out there where you can do different tests and kind of they control LinkedIn profiles and read your content and look at various forms of communication you carry out online. And you can really build a picture about kind of your customers and how they behave and what they're looking for. So I can now look at somebody on LinkedIn and say, okay, this person prefers short emails with bullet points without the kind of fluff around it. People don't want to know how your weekend is or how the kids are, etc. Now that's great for some people. Obviously for some people, they really like that. So it's really important you tailor your communication and you personalize the experience to be as relevant as possible. Let's take that family example. If you're going into a business, I don't want notifications around, okay, here's 2 for 1 for children's offers, or here's this or here's that if I don't have a family. I also don't want OAP offers of here's £10 for your dual fish and chips if I can't redeem that. I need things that are relevant to me and that kind of I can apply for. Evergreen sequences and funnels. During COVID, arguably people have been busier and busier and busier as founders, and actually one of the first steps off, as we touched upon earlier, is our level of communication. So for me, it's about how can we build evergreen sequences and funnels that once you become onboarded, you buy a product or you engage with a service, you are then dropped into a sequence that allows frequent communication already planned out. And I call it the kind of hit by a bus method, that if you're hit by a bus tomorrow, that communication will still go out to make sure the user has everything they need. Are we still solving their problem? Can we get some feedback? How can we improve? Actually, aside from that, 1 week in, what else would you like? Here's some extra things. Oh, most people that bought this also bolted this on. There's so many opportunities with sequences and funnels, not just on email as it once was. You can do other things as well, whether it be through app or whether it be through social or possibly offline. Every user should start and become in a funnel. So whether that be from kind of trying to win the client, or it could be once you've won the client and the after sales process, or it could be another process. There should always be sequences and funnels that makes the change so much easier. Reputation management and herd mentality. So important as we're going forwards. With change will come problems. Okay, and it's really naive of us to think that, oh great, we'll just make these changes and suddenly life will be golden and we will be rich and famous and everything's great. Sadly, life doesn't work like that. So we need to think about how do we manage reputation, because we won't get it right every single time. I want to say I'm talking about us as business owners, okay? So you come in, you roll some changes out, you're thinking, great, this is good. I've looked at the data into our customers, this is what they want. You will not please everybody. Okay, some people would have loved to come to your, let's take a restaurant. They would have loved to come to your restaurant for the last 30 years and always sat at the same table and always ordered the same meal. And actually now you've changed the way people are ordering and you've encouraged them to order on an app possibly, or possibly on a tablet, as opposed to with someone that's waiting and they're not used to that. We have to make sure that we appeal to the masses, and we have to then deal with those that we kind of, disappoint. And unfortunately that will happen. However, herd mentality we need to avoid, okay? Users and customers behave in a herd mentality and they will follow the crowds. However, as business owners, we need to go the other way, okay? We need to think about how our business can stand out and how we can be different. My favorite one in all of this is around surprise and delight, okay? How can we make sure that when a customer interacts with our brand, service, product, whatever it is, we surprise and delight them so we become memorable? There are so many competitors. Barriers to entry have been reduced significantly during COVID in terms of once upon a time you were perhaps buying one location. Now the world is at our fingertips, quite literally, and that's been accelerated. Of course, some users would shop globally. However, some would still stay very loyal to little brands. That's no longer the case, and I see it particularly in our industry within digital. You think about companies and brands that would maybe have once only gone to London for projects. Now, actually, they're working remotely. They could work with anyone in the UK or further afield. So how can you surprise and delight your audience at every interaction? Make sure that you're memorable, to make sure that you're front and center, and to make sure that you're easily referable. And that's a big thing for me. So when you're going through your digital transformation journey, how can you make sure, we talked earlier about 10xing that customer and user experience, how can we make sure that everything we do gives a surprise and delight and a wow factor to our audience? Also, time to start automating internal processes and procedures. So great, the customer experience is 10x, the customers are over the moon, everyone's bought into this, this is great. However, all we're going to do initially is push bottlenecks further down the line. Okay, so you change the UX at the outset, you change the kind of customer experience, everyone's loving it, brilliant. However, the systems and processes behind it to back it up then need to catch up. So what we need to think about is how we can automate some of those, okay? Because actually, it might be that said employee within your organization is doing X, it's incredibly manual, it could be automated, and not automated so you can make that role redundant, but automated so that you can take that role and apply them somewhere else in the business that gives you a better return on investment. Okay, so start to think about how you can automate internal processes and procedures to really make a difference. Whenever we're going through a digital evolution roadmap or digital transformation roadmap, and I've been moving away from transformation as a term and calling it evolution, I start to think about marginal gains. And for any of you that are into sports, you may be familiar with Team Sky and their principle of marginal gains when it comes to cycling. And then you look at the Sydney Olympics and you look at the rowing team and how every single part of that journey has been tweaked, refined, adjusted, scrutinized to make sure they're getting marginal gains. So it could have been, for example, in the Sydney Olympics, I believe they even changed the pillows that the guys were sleeping on to try and get that extra 1% over the competition. So start to think yourself, when you're going on your digital transformation or evolution journey, it isn't going to change overnight. Okay, change is important, but at the same time, it won't be roses tomorrow. So how can we make sure we can do incremental and marginal changes to start compounding and making the world a difference? And what I like to create with our clients is a positive evolution diary. Okay, because to start with, you're making small change here, tweak there, change this, change that. And actually for a few weeks or even months, you might not feel like you're making much progress. And therefore a positive evolution diary can be there to document everything, to say, hey, you know what? Look at that, look at all those things we've done. And then suddenly the tipping point flips. And you see this here with this graph that I've shown. You see that over time, the kind of proportion between the blue and the red become massive. But to start with, you're thinking, crumbs, nothing's happening. This is frustrating. And then bang, you begin to see the difference. So start to think about how you can make easy and low hanging fruit and quick kind of changes that can make the world of difference, but don't expect massive change overnight. Because if you do, not only will it disrupt your team, it may disrupt your audience, and all of a sudden you just have another challenge to deal with. Another really important part within the digital evolution journey is to surround yourself with the right people. So it's so many businesses we go into say, yep, great, we know what we need to do. We're going to start to embrace technology. This is brilliant. I've pulled in my son's best mate who's 15 years old and he's just got a star in his GCSE IT, and all of a sudden he's going to help the business transform digitally. That's fine, and it's interesting to get that input. However, you need to surround yourself with people that have been there, seen it, and done it. And it might not be me, right? This isn't a pitch. This could be anyone. But surround yourself with people that have been there, seen it, done it, and that understand your industry and that can take you on the journey together. Okay, because there will be points where you need to lean on people. And here's an example of a couple of mentors and people I've lent on in my journey, people that have been there, seen it, done it, got the t-shirt, that I can lean on to say, look, as we're going through our evolution journey, what did you do at this point? How did you address that? What would you change? What did you learn? What mistakes did you make? A lot of this stuff can be shortcutted if we surround ourselves with the right people. There is a massive opportunity within the world at the moment for strategic partnerships and collaboration, and I'm a huge advocate of this. Anyone that knows me knows that I spend a lot of time talking to like-minded businesses and owners of those businesses and team members within those businesses to search for strategic partnerships. We can't be great at everything. Too many people, I believe, are looking for a slice of the big pie and they just want everything, whereas actually you can have a smaller pie and do something really, really well. And then to deliver in-class experience. So start to think within your organization, as you embrace digital and as you embrace technology, how can you make sure that you build out strategic partnerships and alliances so that you can go to your client with a suite of products as opposed to just one individual product. Okay, so when we're looking to solve people's problems and pain points, we're looking to solve it collectively, but not necessarily just from you. Okay, because you start offering 10, 12, 14, 15 different solutions, you'll give 5 great ones, you'll give 10, 15 poor ones, and then the whole experience will be ruined. So just do something and do it really, really well. The final piece for me is around taking responsibility and make a difference. Okay, we've talked a lot in this presentation around how people are kind of talking the talk and not walking the walk. Now is the time to stand out. Now is the time for you as a business owner to really take responsibility and go and make a difference. Energize your team, motivate your team. Team members and kind of employees are looking to us as business owners and founders to really shape their future. Okay, they're looking at us to have the answers. And I know it's tough, right? Because with everything that's going on, sometimes we don't have the answers. But at the same time, we can lead from the front. We can do our best. We can speak clearly and eloquently, and we can try and get across our vision. And that's really important. To go on this change journey, we have to get buy-in from everyone around us. Okay, so take some responsibility and let's go and make a difference. I hope you found that useful. Nathan Lomax from Quickfire Digital. If you'd ever like a conversation around any of those topics, or you think actually that struck a chord, or I'd like to learn more about that, or even I disagree with that, or I agree with this, please jump on a call. I'd be more than happy to help. And let's see how we can really help you and your business embrace digital transformation over the next coming months and years. Thank you very much for your time.
Hey, Nathan, brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, it really was, every slide was a sort of nugget of pure knowledge gold. I could spend the rest of the day talking to you about so much. And I really love the fact that as you talk about how businesses are prepared to embrace digital transformation, you've always sort of referencing that sort of necessary need to start with the end in mind, and that end is really about customer experience. That's really what we're aiming for here with digital transformation. It's about being more memorable. It's about surprising. It's about delighting. Digital transformation isn't buying a new server or introducing Salesforce. It's that whole sort of cultural experience and technology of examining your organization, examining your customer, examining your teams, really asking the difficult questions, because that's ultimately the prize that you're aiming for.
Yeah, absolutely. Either massively improve customer experience or dramatically slash costs. And when you look at any example of digital transformation done really well, and I always use Uber as that example, they've done it absolutely perfectly. But look at other examples. There's tons out there. Really important that you just keep the end in mind and then work backwards.
Fantastic. Okay. Again, we know we've sort of gone right up to the line for the presentation, which is brilliant. There are some questions coming through, I'm sure, which we'll try and get to you. And also, thank you very much indeed for making yourself available to talk to people. And I know you. That's a very sincere and a very genuine offer. You're the kind of person that, and if someone's got a question or a challenge or whatever it may be, then you'll certainly, if you don't know somebody, then if you don't know yourself, then you'll certainly know somebody who can. So that's amazing.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
Thank you. Take care. Thanks, Chris.
Take care. Thank you. Okay, so again, we take a short break for you to take a quick walk around the room. It's not like the normal festivals where you're standing up and dancing all morning. This is a sort of sit down and learning and understanding festival. So 2 or 3 minutes, have a break, refresh your glass, ponder on what we've learned so far, and we'll be back really soon.